We are not psychologists or counselors, but we do need to have a basic understanding of behavior so we can help bring about positive change in behavior. Oftentimes, when we want to bring about a change in somebody's behavior, we make an assumption that they are already at a point where they want to change their behavior. Because this is rarely the case, oftentimes we end up failing to bring about the positive character or behavior changes that we would like to see or that we need to see. It's important that we begin at the beginning, which is looking for the source of the behavior, to try to understand exactly why they're behaving as they do. What's the source cause of the behavior? Then we need to go into a process of helping to actually bring about the positive character change that we want to see happen. And we do this in 4 steps. First, are they aware that they engage in the behavior? It may be very obvious to somebody from the outside, but the mentee may not even be aware that they actually engage in the behavior. So for example, if somebody talks a lot, they may be unaware that they actually are speaking an excessive amount. So they may feel that they simply have a lot to share, and they do so, but they may not be aware that their talking is actually preventing other people from talking or otherwise engaging with them. And depending on whatever that particular issue is, and no matter how apparently obvious it may be to you or to everybody else around them, they may not actually be aware of what it is they're doing. So the first step is finding out if they're even aware that they actually engage in that particular problematic behavior. Which leads us to the second point. Are they aware that the behavior is problematic? So maybe they're aware that they engage in that behavior, but they may not be aware that it's a problem. So for example, the person who talks a lot may be aware that in fact they do talk a lot, but they may not be aware that it's a problem that they do so. They may not understand that if they're talking all the time, it doesn't give other people a chance to engage or interact, or that other people don't feel heard or that their opinion is relevant when they're around that person. Likewise, somebody may curse frequently, and they may be very aware that they curse frequently, but they're not aware that it's a problem in terms of how society will see them and how they interact and how to move forward in life. Third, are they willing or desirous of actually changing their behavior? They may know that they do the behavior, they may know that it's a problem, but they may not be at a stage where they actually want to change their behavior. And you can't make that decision for them. That's going to be something they have to come to on their own. They're going to have to see that behavior as being problematic and want to change it themselves. Then we can go on to stage 4, which is typically where people start, which is why it fails. But stage 4 is that you actually help them develop a plan to change the behavior and correct and improve things. Again, oftentimes the reason that we fail in changing behavior or bringing about change in behavior is because we start at this last step instead of ending here. So again, this sequence of steps is very important. That first we identify where that behavior is coming from, then we start to look at whether the mentee knows that they engage in the behavior, whether it's problematic in their eyes, and third, that they actually want to change the behavior. Then we end up in the 4th step of going through the process of helping them develop a plan of how they might best bring about that positive change. Negative attention is when we give somebody attention for doing something that's bad or negative. Typically, we see this in small children. When they're fussing and crying and kicking up a storm, then the parents come in and pay attention to them and discipline them or some such thing. This simply trains our children that they need to behave badly to have our attention. If the only kind of attention that our children or mentees receive is when they're acting up or behaving badly, then that's what they'll do, because some attention is better than no attention. This is oftentimes why the silent treatment can be so effective, because it's cutting somebody off from having any attention at all, and that drives people to do anything in order to have some attention. Positive attention is just the opposite. It's giving somebody attention for positive behavior. So when somebody's behaving well, they're doing good, that's when our focus and attention comes onto them. It's very important that we strive to give our mentees positive attention, because this reinforces then those positive behaviors. When we give negative attention, it tends to reinforce the negative behaviors. This may be an area where we really have to do some self-analysis, because we may not realize the habits that we've fallen into. And so, again, we want to focus on giving positive attention and trying to avoid negative attention. Now, this doesn't mean that if we see something that's happening that's problematic that we don't address it, but rather we give it a quick address, hey, that's inappropriate, and then we move on. It doesn't become the entire focus of our attention, and now we're invested in them and fully engaging them, but only when they're behaving badly. We really want to save that full focus and positive attention and full engagement for when they're behaving and doing the best of things.